As everyone would acknowledge, Patterson Stadium is getting towards the end of its life, and the community is very keen to have a new stadium in the Burswood Peninsula. The new stadium will be a fantastic gateway to visitors to Perth. It will transform the Burswood Peninsula from an existing 18-hole golf course into a great sport and entertainment precinct. And it's the opportunity for the West Australian Government to deliver a new generation stadium for the community with all the benefits that will entail. It will allow us to attract new major events, to host international and national sporting competitions, and it will be designed in such a way that it can cater for a range of sports and events to maximise its use as much as possible. We don't have a design for the stadium as it currently sits. We are developing a functional brief that will go to the marketplace for consortia to respond. In developing the functional brief for the stadium, we went overseas and looked at a number of different stadia around the world, particularly in the United Kingdom and America, where some of the latest stadiums have been built. So we're looking at a range of elements that make going to live events far better than staying at home and watching it from your living room. So we're trying to take some of the best features from new stadiums and say, how can we adapt this, how can we use this in the new stadium in Perth? And from that we developed an expression which was fan first, which means basically when we're making some design decisions, if it's good for the fans, then it becomes a higher priority, so that we are really maximising the number of fans that want to go and watch live sport as opposed to staying at home. The new stadium has been designed in multi-purpose, and it's not just for athletics events. We want to make sure it accommodates the major code, being the Australian Football League. It also accommodates rectangular sports, whether it be rugby union, rugby league, or soccer, football, and it will also accommodate cricket. We also want to make sure though that should there be another major event like a Commonwealth Games, and Perth and Western Australia are bidding for that, it doesn't become an exorbitant fee to adjust the stadium. So we want to make sure we allow for what we call an event overlay, both within the stadium and outside the precinct, so we can accommodate in the future relatively easily a 400-metre running track, for example, and outside the stadium we can accommodate the event overlay like broadcasting compounds, additional hospitality, security that goes with major events. So while we've built an athletic stadium which has a capacity of approximately 5,000 people, this would be for any major events like a Commonwealth Games or an Olympic Games to accommodate a far greater audience who would attend an event of that nature. As well as being multi-purpose, so to cater for Australian Football League, cricket and the rectangular sporting codes, that only accommodates up to 32 to 37 events a year. So we want to make sure we maximise both the sports precinct and the stadium as much as possible. So some of the facilities we will be including in the stadium will be hospitality facilities that could be used for functions, conferences, weddings. We have a magnificent location overlooking the Swan River, looking the Perth city skyline and out to Rottnest. So there's an opportunity to design it in such a way that we can maximise those views to increase the usage of the stadium. We will obviously be doing things such as stadium tours. The stadium itself may have a museum as part of that, and the consortia who respond to the tender also have the opportunity to deliver some commercial opportunities. That may well be cafes, bars, restaurants, children's playgrounds, So basically, make sure that the sports precinct and the stadium are used and maximised as much as possible, not just for sport, but for the whole cross-section of the community. Having travelled overseas and looked at stadiums and comparing it with some of the stadiums that are an older generation, the population is generally getting larger. Which means that a seat that was designed for someone in the 1970s and 80s is very compact nowadays. So we are looking at what is best practice in other stadiums, and the stadium that we have used as a benchmark is Etihad Stadium, and all the seating in the new Perth Stadium will either be the same as Etihad or surpass Etihad in terms of its not only the size of seat, but also the size of the seating platform, so that if someone wants to walk in front of you, you have more leg room and you have the capacity potentially to allow them to walk in front without standing up and disturbing everyone. So I guess it's basically to accommodate a larger population and to have greater comfort when you're in watching any type of sport. The playing dimensions of the surface was something that we had a lot of debate around as we were developing the functional brief. The length of Subiaco is currently 175 metres, which is the largest field of play in the competition for the EFL. And the local clubs, the West Coast and Fremantle, were very keen to retain that home advantage. When you develop a fan-first philosophy, you say what's going to be the best for the fans, and having a shorter playing field and a wider playing field brings people closer to the action. So with some discussion with the clubs, we have reduced the length of the new playing field from 175 to 165 metres and made it wider. So it's more akin to the MCG playing surface. But given the home team's advantage isn't just, and you could argue isn't anything to do with the playing surface, it's making it a fortress for your home teams that make it a real good atmosphere with your home fans over the action, supporting the teams not having to travel to the East Coast, staying in their own bed, having their own changing rooms and their own facilities, so making it as good as possible for the home teams and as unattractive as possible for the opposition. No, the footbridge that we are planning from East Perth over to the Buzzard Peninsula at this stage, and is only planned for pedestrians. The width of that bridge is intended to be about 9 to 10 metres in width to ensure there's no problems with a large percentage of people leaving or arriving at the ground. The main issue comes when people leave a stadium en masse. When spectators arrive at a stadium, they usually arrive in dribs and drabs. So at this stage it is not planned for anything other than pedestrians who may be using a CAT service to East Perth and then walking across the footbridge itself. While there's been no decision made by the government on how many seats will be available to non-paying members, I can safely say it's a priority for the government, as the stadium is funded by the WA taxpayer and the community, and it is important for the government to ensure that people who are interested in sport but don't take out membership of any of the national codes within Western Australia can still have the opportunity to turn up. So while I can't give you a precise percentage of the 60,000 capacity, I'm fairly comfortable that the WA government will be looking at this issue in the fullness of time to ensure that the people who may want to attend games on an ad hoc nature are catered for. We've developed a fan-first philosophy, and what that means is from the moment you leave your front door of your house to the moment you arrive back at the front door of your house, we want to give you the best experience possible. So if that means travelling on public transport, which we have a high percentage of people who would like to come, up to 83% of the crowd who would like to come by public transport. We've tested some of the issues with a sports fan reference group. So they want to make sure if they're coming by public transport, say for example train, that the stations are well lit, the trains are clean and they're efficient. And then once they get to the precinct, they can travel safely to the stadium. And then when they're in the stadium, they have a fantastic experience. Good quality seating, great sight lines of the playing surface, access to food, beverage, toilet facilities, audio-visual, the latest technology. So it really is a fantastic live experience. And then when they go home, they can travel home with minimum queuing in a safe environment and get home in the most efficient way possible. So I think it's a real focus to ensure that the fans are taken care of as we develop the design for this new stadium. On Friday the 12th of April 2013, the Premier and the Minister for Sport and Recreation announced that they had appointed Airtech Keller as the preferred tenderer for the earthworks for the Burswood Peninsula. What that means is the government will negotiate with Airtech Keller over the next month to try and conclude the contract, and if successful, we would expect the company to commence the pre-construction site works on the Burswood Peninsula in July 2013. So the public would start to see the earth being moved and shaped from approximately July 2013. The Premier and the Minister also announced that they had shortlisted 3 consortia to develop the design, build, finance and maintain tender for the project. The companies that have been shortlisted are on the perthstadium.com.au website and are available for everyone to have a look at. The companies that we've shortlisted have a reputation of building some of the best stadiums around the world and have built stadiums internationally in the US, in England and Europe, as well as throughout Asia and importantly in Australia as well. So as the project team, we're very satisfied. We have high quality, world-renowned, calibre consortia who can deliver us the best stadium possible.